nice to be back in the chapel.
Yes.
You get to hear the rain too, which will be lovely. Tonight we have our dear friend Janet Rogalski, who will be leading us through the service and providing the Devar Torah. So let's join together in welcoming Shabbat with our opening song, Shalom Aleichem, on page 142.
To welcome Shabbat with the lighting of the candles. I'd like to ask Audrey and Ernie Brookfield to join me up here, and you'll find the candle blessings on page 120 and 121. They can hear you on the live stream.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. You'll find Lachado D on page 138.
לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לקראת שבת לכו בניך, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוך, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. התעוררי, כי ברך קומי אורי, אורי שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. בואי ושלום התרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמונם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
The Chatzi Kaddish is on page 263.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמן הבא, בעלמא יברך עדותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. ישמר אבא מברך לעולם רן מהמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמן קדושה בריחו. לעלמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבקתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Please rise for the Baruchu on page 264.
Baruch et Adonai, hamevorach. Baruch Adonai,
proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim.
Avat olam bet Israel, amcha avta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu lemadeta, al ken Adonai Eloheinu, meshachvenu v'kumenu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, u'vam negei yomam v'laila, ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. The V'ahavta is on page 268.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובחומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבת וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We read together at the bottom of the page, "You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children, recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all of my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God." On page 269, we'll read in the middle of the page responsively, "We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all." Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. When will redemption come? Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
Adonai et Yaakov, ugewelo me'ad hazach mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Israel, et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Please rise for the tefillah.
Adonai, שפתי תפתחו פי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל והולליה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחלקי חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. We read together at the top of page 278, Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 281, for the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world of our hearts and hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. Our God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha ne'eh lahodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Adonai, Hamevarech et Amo Yisrael, Shalom.
We read together. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamarech et Amo Yisrael, Bashalom. We've come to the time in our service where it's time to think of all of those in our world, in our nation, in our community, in our hearts who need healing. If you have a name that you'd like to share, please do so now. Steve Ulrich, Jan Schott. You will find the prayer for healing, the Mishaberach, on page 371.
Mishaberach avotenu mikol habracha. Source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
we take a moment for silent reflection. We probably all know them. By them, I mean people who feel that they are entitled. By entitled, I mean people who act as though they have a right or a claim to something they really may not deserve. It may be the person that you hear as you check into a hotel who wants preferential treatment and says something like, "Wait a minute, I'm a stockholder of this hotel chain. I want a better room." Or it could be the person who is denied something and responds, "What do you mean you won't, you can't, I can't have?" Fill in the blank. Do you know who I am? It could be a person brought up always being told that she or he is very special and eventually believes that press. Such a person is Pamela Peirce. Well, wait a minute. You may not know Pamela Peirce. Let me introduce you to her. Pamela Peirce yelled, "Ladies first," pushing in front of the ice cream line. Pamela Peirce yelled, "Ladies first," grabbing the ketchup at dinner time. Climbing on the morning bus, she'd shove right by all of us, and there'd be a tiff or a fight or a fuss when Pamela Peirce yelled, "Ladies first." Pamela Peirce screamed, "Ladies first," when we went off on our jungle trip. Pamela Peirce said her thirst was worse and guzzled all our water, every sip. And when we got grabbed by that wild, savage band who tied us together and made us all stand up in a long line in front of the king of the land, a cannibal known as Fry-em-up Dan, who sat on his throne in a bib so grand with a lick on his lips and a fork in his hand, as he tried to decide who'd be first in the pan, from the back of the line, in that shrill voice of hers, Pamela Peirce yelled, "Ladies first." Pamela Peirce comes from the fertile mind of that philosopher-poet, Shel Silverstein. She might be considered a specific type of an entitled person. She could even be considered a malcontent, someone who's always dissatisfied and who frequently bears a grudge, somebody who's only out for herself or himself. Then there's someone who looks at another and says, if I only had what that person has, I'd be whatever. Envy may not be the motivating factor. It could, in fact, be wistfulness because that person has something desirable that really isn't necessarily monetary. Take, for example, Tevye the dairyman, who sings in If I Were a Rich Man about being rich. He wouldn't have to work hard. He could build a fine house. He'd have lots of chickens and turkeys and geese and many other material things. He realizes that people would come to him for advice because he's rich, whether he knows anything or not. If you're rich, they think you really know, he sings. That may be true in our time as well as Tevye's. But, and it's a big but, seeing himself as rich and entitled would give Tevye a very significant non-monetary or material advantage. As he sings, quote, if I were rich, I'd have the time that I lack to sit in the synagogue and pray, and maybe have a seat by the eastern wall. And I discuss the holy books with the learned men several hours every day. That would be the sweetest thing of all, unquote. Here's a desire for entitlement that would truly enhance his life. Not everyone like Tevye. There are people who feel they are very important because of their status at birth or some very real accomplishment. But those people may not feel that others give them the credit or the kuvit they themselves feel they deserve. Think about this coming weekend. In a few days, many people in the United States will be celebrating in some fashion Independence Day. We may enjoy barbecues, games, beautiful fireworks. What we may not do very often is think about the courage it took for those leaders who, not content with their lives controlled by the King of England and the British Parliament, and they took very bold and dangerous actions to break away and create a whole new country, although there were, of course, some colonists who did remain loyal to the British. These men, sorry, no women were in the room where it happened, were quite young. One article I read described them as the 1776 founding millennials. They ranged in age from 18 to 25, those patriots out on the battlefield. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the bulk of the Declaration of Independence, was 33, and the oldest of all of them was Benjamin Franklin, who at the time of the signing of the Declaration was 70. Well, they themselves, crafted the Declaration. They struggled among themselves. They certainly did not agree. They fought bravely on battlefields and did a variety of things that brought this country into fruition. As an example, one patriot over a 3-year period fought in Canada, Lake Champlain, in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New York. He made himself indispensable to General George Washington and the revolutionary cause. His soldiers considered him inspiring. He was a true hero until he wasn't. He's an example of someone who felt entitled to respect more than he got, credit more than he got, honors more than he got, promotions more than he got, and money more than he got. So he went looking for a way to get everything which he felt he was entitled to have. He didn't have to look very far. He turned to the British, who were, he's sure, would very much give him all the honors he believed he deserved. Being given a command of the fort of West Point, he planned and plotted to turn it over to the British. The plot was foiled, and he fled to Britain. Of course, you know we're talking about Benedict Arnold. He did not get the covert he expected from those colonists, those patriots. He thought the British would think he was wonderful, but they didn't. They found him untrustworthy. They found him a betrayer of his friends. He is known in history as a traitor, not exactly the covet he desired. He did not do it to help his people. He did it for honor, glory, and money. Which leads us to this week's Torah portion, which is Korach in the book of Numbers 1 through 18. Korach's story is also one of rebellion. After being in the desert for so long, there was a crisis not fomented by malcontents who were tired of eating manna, but of malcontents unhappy with their lot. According to Midrash, Korach's complaint about who had the right to lead the people of Israel did not, quote, come from egalitarian motives, but from pettiness, jealousy, and frustrated ambition, close quote. Here we have Korach and his relatives, Levites, who accuse Moses and Aaron of taking power and prestige for themselves at the expense of the community, and that there were others, namely himself, who truly deserved that leadership role. Korach claims to be opposed to leadership, that of Moses and Aaron, but at the same time, he wants to be the leader. Korach and his followers wanted a share of the priestly duties, namely what they wanted was the right to make fire for God's offerings. He totally missed the point and the message that the job of the Levites was very important, truly important, as they were to be the guardians of the tabernacle. He didn't see it like that. How to decide? God decided. Moses told Korach and his people to come the next day when God would announce who was really holy. If those people died, all those people died a natural death, they were all equally holy. If the earth swallowed them, they had their answer. The earth opened up, swallowed Korach, his followers, and everything they possessed. Sounds like a pretty definitive definition to me of a decision. Two men who had great promise. Both felt underappreciated, and they were entitled to more. One fled to Britain. One got swallowed up by the earth. They each had an outcome for their actions, but neither outcome turned out to be very good. I know which one I guess I'd prefer. Were they treated badly? I think you need to decide that. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so we have announcements, which in fact will be given by our president, Janine Hutner.
Please be aware that there will be no in-person Shabbat services next Friday, July 8th, due to Sylvania fireworks. If you want a further explanation after services, I can explain it to you. Services will be via Zoom. Join us on Sunday, July 10th at 3 p.m. for a concert to benefit Ukraine, Songs of Hope. It will be in person at the temple or live streaming at the temple website. We'll be featuring Cantor Jen Rohr, our cantorial soloist, Dr. Andrew Pelatar, and several other cantors and cantorial soloists from Ohio. Suggested donation is $18 per person. And additional donations will be welcome. There will be a reception following. Shabbat Shalom.
Please rise for the Aleinu on page 586. Please be seated. Death cannot sever our connection to those we have lost. The soul is eternal and can never be extinguished. But not only the soul survives the grave, the bonds of love are stronger than death. The lessons that our loved ones taught us, their goodness, their deeds, their wisdom will remain with us always. They have left a permanent imprint upon our souls that can never be erased. They continue to guide us wherever we go. This week, for Kaddish, we remember those whose yahrzeits are this week. Peggy Edelstein, Marvin Adler, Frank Bender, Miriam Meisner-Cohn, Bernard A. Davis, Eugene Folan, Charlene Friedman, Hazel W. Ginsburg, Michael Gordon, Sanford Babe Green, Henry G. Himmelhoek, Helen D. Klaus, Jerome M. Kobacker, Leo Levitt, Nanette Mainwald, Benjamin Margolewski, Dean Markwood, Esther Miller, Frederick Mindel, Rachel R. Carolyn Shore, Toby F. Sigmund, May Q. Smith, Shirley Altfeld Solomon, Sylvia Hockman Steinberg, Harry K. Tratner. Are there other names that we should have for Kaddish this week? We also, too, remember those whose deaths have occurred in recent days and weeks. Owen L. Stroll and Robert Weinman. Please rise for Kaddish on page 591. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'yama divarach v'kutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chaye dekol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uzman kariv v'yimru. Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mithrak Elam Elmaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitboar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha v'reichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram v'yoma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabba Mishemaya v'chaim Aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mirav, Huya Aseh Shalom, Aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Our closing song this evening will be Ein Keloheinu, which you'll find on page 626.
En Keloheinu, en Kadonenu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kemoshienu, mi Eloheinu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu. Nod el Eloheinu, nod el Adonenu, nod el Malkeinu, nod el Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Please join us for the Motzi and the Kiddush in the lobby. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.